All right, so hopefully you watched the previous introductions. If you didn't, please make sure you do, because otherwise you won't have a good foundation. But anyways, all right, so let's go ahead. This is going to be connecting lovable.dev to n8n. So in this one, we're going to build upon that earlier when we did in the introduction here to webhook. So let me actually get rid of this, because I want to just focus on sending just a few pieces of information from our front end in Lovable to our webhook here, so that way we can see how that process is done. And then obviously on the next one, using n8n AI agent with Lovable, what we'll do is basically receive that webhook information from Lovable and then have an AI agent here that does something and responds back, so that way kind of closes the loop. And then afterwards, we're going to obviously create our first app here. All right. So in this particular one, let's go ahead and start with Lovable as a front end. So make sure you're logged into your account. So here, this is where you start to build your app or whatever idea you have on the Lovable front end. So essentially, it's very simple, right? We're just gonna build something very, very basic, because the whole point of this is for me to show you how to send information from Lovable front end to the webhook in the backend and n8n. So what I'm gonna do is just literally say, hey, can you create, and by the way, I'm just doing this live, so we might have to go through a few iterations, but that's good, because that's how you see and how you learn through this whole process. All right, so I'm going to say, hey, can you create a ChatGPT like application where I can send information from the front end to the back end to n8n via the following webhook. Okay, and I'm just going to literally paste the webhook. So how do we get the webhook? We're going to go back here and we're going to click on our webhook here. Make sure you're in test URL if you're using this test. So I'm literally, again, if you didn't see this video earlier, make sure you watch the introduction to webhook, because this is literally what I went through and explained what the path is, what these different methods are, and all of that good stuff. All right, so I'm just going to use that. So where's the, test URL. You're just going to click on this, and this is going to copy the URL there. So now we're going to go back and paste this here, and we'll just kind of start here and then see how it goes, and you'll see how you can interact with Lovable back and forth to make sure that everything is working. And with some kind of an error that you're receiving, then you kind of go ahead and do editing. So again, when I mentioned earlier in the introduction to Lovable what messaging is, so right now when I press enter, this counts as one message. Okay, so let's go ahead and press and again, this is just a very start and basic. So we'll see what it does. So as soon as you press enter on that initiate or that initial message, so this Lovable editor kind of pops up. So as you can see on the left hand side, it took that information. Hey, can you create a ChatGPT like blah, blah, blah. And now it said, okay, I'm inspired by your request to create a ChatGPT application, blah, blah, blah. And now it's going to go ahead and the application will feature the following, and it's going to build the code for yourself. You don't have to know what it's doing. Honestly, don't, but just, it's a good way to see what's happening at the back end. And this might, depending on how complex your application is, sometimes this takes pretty long, not pretty long, I mean, a few minutes, but it does show you what it's doing. And that initial message that we put, it might not be accurate, right? But it's the good thing is you start, and then afterwards, whatever happens next, then you can do edits here in this little chat right here in the left hand side. So as you can see, it's doing the build, and then on the bottom, if I just scroll down, it's building the front end, the back end, that communication, because we emphasized that we need to use the back end to n8n via this webhook, right? So all the information needs to be sent to the backend via this information via n8n here. So let's just go ahead and wait for it to complete its thing. And then once it's done, this will show you a little preview here, so that way you can see it. And then also I'll show you exactly how you can get back to this particular one. There you go. So now it's finished. Now it says spinning up preview, right? And that's what's so great. I mean, I don't have to do anything. You just basically type that one prompt, and there you go. Perfect. AI assistant, welcome to AI chat. Send a message to start a conversation with the assistant. All right. So now let's go ahead and start. And then on the left hand side, by the way, it does give you kind of updates. So it says, I've created a premium chat application that integrates with your n8n webhook, featuring a minimalist design with smooth animation, glass, and blah, 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 right? Whatever. We can always, on the next ones, when we build, we'll interact with the system to edit the front end as far as the user interface, as far as adding colors and everything. But for now, this is fine, right? So you have this nice little chat, and then the bottom you have this type of message to send. All right, so now it says what's next? Refine, customize. So this gives you also the option to expand this application further. But like I said, we will do that later on as we move forward. So now let's go ahead and actually type a message and see what's happening here. So on our webhook here, I'm literally just going to click on test workflow. Actually, one thing I want to change, make sure you're changing this to immediately. So that way, because if you have this as use respond to webhook node, then this is waiting for that other webhook, the respond to webhook. So for now, just use this immediately. And if we run into kind of error, we'll come back and change it. All right. So when you do that, just test the workflow. So now there you go, waiting for you to call the test URL. So now let's go ahead and see if this thing worked. Actually, you know what? Let me actually minimize this. Bring this over here so you see this is happening in real time. Because we're only using the webhook there, we can bring this over here. All right, good enough. Perfect. So now you can see the webhook here. Let's go ahead and put this here, zoom in, so you see what's happening. All right. This thing is annoying. And there you go. Okay, so let's go ahead and type a message. I'm just going to say hello and see what happens here. Hey, perfect. There you go. Request received successfully, right? So on the left-hand side, as you can see, it worked the first time. A lot of times it doesn't, but this is exciting that it works the first time. All right, so now let's go ahead and see what happened inside here. So again, as soon as we sent this message, request received successfully, this is just what Lovable created, but we can always change this, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at our webhook here. If I double click here, let me make this bigger. All right. So now what's happening is same thing on the left-hand side. If I see, move this here. All right, so you received all of this information. And again, this is just standard. Whenever a webhook sends something, then you are receiving all this a bunch of stuff that you didn't need, but that's just part of it. Anyways, so in the bottom, as you can see, the bottom, so it says hello. That's exactly what we sent the message, right? So if I go to table view here, and so you have all these headers that comes in with standard. The parameters and query is empty, obviously, because we didn't send anything. This shows you the body. So all of everything, all of the interaction, as far as all of the information that's coming in from the front end, from lovable.dev, is going to sit on the body of your parameter. And that's just how the webhook system and the JSON system works. So just be aware of the information that will be coming in from your front end is going to come in via this body and message, right? So you can see I have this hello that's being sent on the message of this body. You have your webhook URL because that's what we emphasized and told it to send that information to that. And then also execution mode is just a test mode. And that's because we have a test URL. So now let's go ahead and actually do the same thing. Actually, let's try one more message so that way you can see a bit more details. So let's try this again. And I'm going to click on test workflow again. Hi, how's it going? My name is Ver. So that way you can see a bit more details instead of just the hello. So if I press enter, so now this is going to send that information back again. And if we go inside, this time, same thing. The body, it says message, hi, how's it going? My name is Ver, right? So now you see exactly that we're very easily, seamlessly communicating with this, the front end right here. So let me get rid of that. All right. Well, that was a quick way to show you exactly how to connect your front end to the webhook here. So next, what we're going to, I mean, obviously this was very introductory series, but this is good to know that, hey, this is how you can actually, when you're building something on Lovable, you can actually give it your webhook URL. So that's how it's sending information back to your backend in Anytime. All right. So in the next one, we're going to actually build an AI agent, right? So we're just going to add to this. So now we're going to now get this information that's coming in from front end, from our Lovable. We're going to add an AI agent. So that way it creates like a nice little response. And then we're going to add a respond to webhook. So that way we're sending information back to our front end to Lovable, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just start with another fresh message system, and then also show you exactly how to connect and send that information back to your front end there. All right. See you on the next one.